Luno, the fastest, easiest way to buy Bitcoin. If you're just getting into crypto, it's the perfect place to start. Hey guys, welcome back to the Layah Heilpern show. It is powered, of course, by Icon Plus Capital, the VC firm. Aubrey, great to have you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, Layah. I'm so excited. We haven't talked
Yeah. I know, I'm really excited to jump in. Before we do, I just want to let everybody know that this is sponsored by BlockFi. So you can actually get up to $250 when you sign up, which is pretty great right now because, I mean, everything is crashing. So a little bit of money there isn't too bad. But yeah, Aubrey, how are you doing? Where are you based right now?
So right now, I'm not my normal setup. Obviously, I think I film all my TV from like my house. I'm at my grandmother's shore house in New Jersey, in like southern New Jersey. That's why it's very humid and crazy down here. But yeah, I don't know if you know, like the Jersey Shore. I mean, they used to have like a show about it, but it's not.
I know.
It's not like the show at all. People like think it's like just a bunch of like Italians like fist pumping the whole time. It's not that at all. But
it's not that. Like that's what we think it is in the UK.
It's not that. It's actually really nice, like shore town, and it's gotten like a bad rap. I'm sure there's like parts of like the UK that people like chalk up to some sort of like stereotype, and it's like absolutely nothing like that. But yeah, anyways, down here fixing up my grandmother's house and working at the same time right now.
Nice. Well, I kind of want to go into all of this stuff. I mean, I know that, the markets are crashing right now and we'll get into that, but I want to talk a little bit about you, how you got into crypto. I really love what you do. I think it's really different. It's so current. And I also love trylolli, the brand that you've built. So I want to go back a little bit and understand firstly, how did you get into crypto? Then how did you land with trylolli?
So crypto, I got into back in 2016, and it was sort of just right out of college. I was looking to be a journalist. I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and I did political PR and then sort of found this company that was doing crypto PR. And before that, like maybe a few months before that, I had been personally investing in crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, just, sort of like the top of the coin market cap.
But wait, before you got into crypto, you were actually investing?
Yeah, I was investing. Well, I mean, before I worked in crypto, like maybe 3 months before.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I was sort of investing, and I had roommates and friends and people that were like very, like had gone full into crypto. Yeah. And so I started to follow them because they were actually working in financial services. And if they were sort of looking towards this new asset class, it was probably a signal of things changing. And so I think I bought my first Bitcoin actually at a Bitcoin ATM down in, which is usually not where someone buys their first Bitcoin. It was very funny. At a Bitcoin ATM down in like the lower side of Manhattan, they have this ATM machine, and I bought there. And then most of the rest I bought on exchanges. But yeah, that's been the beginning. So I've been in this space for about 5 years. And then with Lolli, I had a friend who's still my friend. His name's Lewis. And he connected me with Alex and said, you need to talk to Alex. He's really building something great here. And I'd worked on a lot of projects that I thought were too early for where the market was. And when I heard about Lolli, I said, this is a great entry point. And you just sort of know when you hear a winner, like you're like, this is going to work. I very much believe in this and it's needed. And so that's sort of the background there. And I guess I should probably explain Lolli to people who aren't aware. So Lolli is a Bitcoin rewards company that gives you free Bitcoin when you shop online from over 1,000 merchants. And it's only in the US right now, but we're going to expand internationally. So these are places like Macy's, Priceline, Harry's, Chewy, and you can earn free Bitcoin on every purchase. So it's a way to passively invest in Bitcoin and own the asset without sort of feeling the hurt sometimes if you're putting your own money into it. So it's good for newbies. It's good for people who've been in this space for a long time. And I've sort of saw the way that I think Alex beautifully put it one time is we've seen these different waves of adoption. We've seen mining, obviously the original way to procure Bitcoin, and then people buying on exchanges, which was like more of the 2017 cycle. And then there's sort of another wave that's come through, and it's a newer sort of retail investor that just wants exposure to the asset, but they don't know if they really want to put money into it, and that's through earning. So it's sort of the third wave of Bitcoin adoption through Lolli.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think it's really different to kind of regard it as a new wave of Bitcoin mass adoption. 'Cause it's just not something which I think is an obvious play, really, is it? Because we always talk about like education, but I think the best way to give anybody anything or to get them on board is to give them something for free. Like I am a huge fan of crypto.com and I have their card, but I never put the money down or anything. Somebody that I worked with was like, Layah, you need to get on board. So just here it is, and I think that's the best way to do it. But what you've done with Trylolli is so interesting because I feel like you really tap into the culture, the online culture. And I think that's it's not just like a fun game, it's actually like a really smart business strategy. So what would you say some of the key things are to growing a brand online?
I like what you said there, because I think people sometimes, not saying everyone thinks this, sees memes and the way people have run accounts as sort of a joke, and it's silly and you're not taking seriously, when it's actually very calculated. And it's obviously done for reasons. Of course, we want to have a good time. We're not, sitting back here calculating every single meme that we put out on the channel.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of sort of old age traditional, which is sort of like, revolting against the old way of media, the old way of connecting with your consumers, is being so professional and uptight and buttoned up. And that's sort of not the way the world is anymore. So things are shifting financially, but also the way companies market. And sorry, just went on tangent there because
go for it.
But what was the original question? How do we?
Yeah, so I'm asking, how do you how important is that to growing a brand? Or like what would you say the most important thing is to growing a brand? I know because I'm saying like you guys obviously focus on the meme culture quite a bit. So what would you say the key features are to growing a brand online and growing a presence online?
Yeah, where we started in 2018, and so that was a bear market, and people really are just looking for entertainment. And I think there's a lot of people now, creators, that are doing a great job of this. And it wasn't really prevalent in the crypto community because you kind of have to get over this hump of trust with a lot of financial institutions before Lolli is a custodian in many ways, and we hold a lot of Bitcoin, but we approach the customer in a different way than some other financial institutions. But now you see exchanges sort of behaving in a similar manner. The way Binance is running their account, they sort of like everyone sort of just copied off of like sort of the Lolli model in a way. They're like, it is okay to make jokes online, especially because a lot of crypto is sort of a joke sometimes, not the assets, but some of the names of these tokens are absolutely insane, and the things that go on with Elon Musk or whatever. If you're not staying culturally relevant on these topics, you're losing a great opportunity to communicate with a large amount of people. And so I think that people have begun to realize this, and a lot of exchanges and companies in the crypto space have adopted it, but it was not a thing. This was not a thing for a lot of companies for a while. But yeah, the Lolli brand the reason we make it so comfortable and fun and whatever you want to call it is because it should be, Bitcoin should be approachable. It should feel that way. You want to feel good about the brand when you go and use the product. You want to feel like you want to shop online and get Bitcoin back. So it's all these things to encourage it through the name, through the branding, the color. It's like a periwinkle purple, things that weren't traditionally done or used in the space. So I think a combination of all those things make it more likable. And it's called Lolli. It was never taking itself very seriously in the first place, but you can take yourself seriously in the same token, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think it does. And I think that it's just really interesting because there is a huge shift in the way that we do things. And I think that really started with our generation. We were kind of just, I guess it's because social media made things far more informal, which meant that moving into the workplace, things sort of became more informal. And I just think it's like a slow kind of evolution. It's just so interesting to see. And like it particularly with crypto, because everything is alternative. Like when this thing started, you had major billionaires and CEOs doing interviews and t-shirts, and there was no formality from the beginning. And I think that really like annoyed some people. And maybe it's just like a tech thing as well, because Mark Zuckerberg back in the day, you know, would turn up in t-shirts and stuff. Maybe it's a tech thing.
It's a little bit of a tech thing, I think, but I think crypto's taken it to the next level. There's always that, you know, I think a lot of people come over from the Wall Street side of things. They still wear like the suits and whatever, but mostly you're seeing a shift, a generational shift on a lot of different areas through finance, through the way you communicate, the way people work. And so it's all sort of happening right now. And it was probably pushed through and like faster, I guess, because of COVID, because people had to be sort of less formal and you couldn't go into an office and all those things. So people are learning that rather quickly.
But you say something really interesting about the suit. Okay, so I'm obviously not going to name names and keep it professional, but I did interview somebody recently. No, never. I interviewed somebody recently, and he was like in a full-blown suit, and it was actually the first time in over a year I'd interviewed somebody who was in a full-blown suit. And even my editor said to me, I didn't trust him. I go, do you know what? It's the suit. That's why you didn't trust him. I'm serious. I'm absolutely serious. It's because you're not used to it and everybody's so informal. And like you said, it's about like being relatable and creating something which doesn't scare people off. Like, who wears a suit in crypto anymore?
That's true. I actually would. That's funny because there's this social experiment of, you know, if someone is hurt on the sidewalk and they're wearing a suit, would you go help them rather than someone who's not wearing a suit and that looks, you know, maybe that, you know, kind of whatever. I don't know. And so that, but now if you flip that around and say, you know, if you're interviewing someone or they're coming for a job or you're just meeting them, are they wearing a suit or not? It does put people in a weird mindset, like put off sometimes. This is like too serious of a conversation. That's like, I guess that's just the boomers. I don't know.
Yeah, he was a boomer, but like I think what's also really interesting is before I started to be more independent in the space, the first crypto company I worked for did everything the traditional way. It was so formal and so uptight, and unfortunately, the company didn't succeed. And I think that's the problem. I think that's why.
And I think that's though. Is that the UK? Do you feel like the UK? Because I lived in.
It wasn't a UK company. It was an American
really?
company.
Okay, so I worked in Dublin, not in Ireland, not a part of the UK, but it for a few months, and I felt like the office that I worked in and everyone there was so dressed up all the time. Lovely people, lovely bunch, very great. So dressed up all the time, like wearing suits every day to the office. And this was 2 years ago that I was working there, and it was a crypto company, but very, very dressed up. And it was just odd to me. None of that made sense. We're working with crypto clients. Anyway, so
I'm with you. No. I'm definitely sorry. Go on. I can't hear you.
I thought this was an Irish thing, maybe, and I don't know.
No, I think it's just like an office thing. If I'm honest, I think it's an office kind of thing. But so I want to get your thoughts on it. What do you think is so effective about it? So it's obviously relatable, but I kind of had this whole idea in my head, and I made this video, and I was sort of comparing it to like finance in terms of like supply and demand. And I had this theory that there's a real lack of like happiness and entertainment in this world. And so I felt people would gravitate towards things which are lighter and funnier and sillier. What do you think?
There's been a bunch of financial meme accounts that have basically popped up over the past few years, and it's this shared struggle and strife that traditional finance has gone through. But then crypto memes have been around for a long time. The community is also just more plugged in online than other communities, so they're always online. They're day trading, and so they can make memes. They understand culture, and that's more on the community side. But for a company side, really, a meme is just a message that you're getting across in a shorter way. And especially on Twitter, you have a character limit, and you can only really get out what people can get in probably a second scroll down their timeline. So whatever you have to say, it needs to be funny, it needs to be convincing, it needs to or evoke some sort of emotion, get something across, or else your meme's not good. So people, like I said, people are downplaying what a strategy it is. But if you go look on Instagram now, there's a lot of companies that are sort of hiding their product within memes.
Yes.
You feel like you're reading a meme and it's funny, but it's secretly branded and you wouldn't know it. unless you sort of really looked into it and you see that they're products at the end. But the content is just so good that you're willing to share it. And the real metric used to be likes and retweets or just likes on Instagram, but really it's the shared button or the saved button on Instagram. And that's what we found. So we run a meme account on Lolly's Instagram, and every day we rank the best Bitcoin memes. And if we look at, I've looked at the metrics of it, the amount of shares that it got, the last one we just did roasted Elon Musk, is crazy. People love memes. They love to share. They love to send it to their friends. I'm sure you do when you're on Instagram or you find a funny meme, you want to share it. And the engagement is so much higher compared to something that would just be promoting your brand, if that makes sense. They're still coming. They're coming for the content.
Yeah, and I actually don't think it's anything too new, because I think what they're selling you is a lifestyle, and I believe that's always been the case when it comes to advertising. Like, you can watch the most incredible ad on TV, right? It's so good, and then you're like, what on earth are they advertising? And then right at the end, McDonald's. So they're selling you, like a lifestyle and a community. And I guess memes is the same thing, it's just done differently. But in terms of meme coins, this is something that has totally blown up recently. So you've been in this space longer than I have, so I want to get your thoughts. Things like Doge and Safe Moon, Shiba Inu, and all those fun, cute things. Is this just standard bull market, or is this part of this evolving internet culture?
I think a lot of it is the bull market. Did you see the one? I saw it last night. Lil Xan, the rapper, came out with Pube Coin. Did you see that?
So I saw somebody was about to do a live stream. I saw someone's about to do a live stream, and I was like, wait, I'm confused. So what was that?
Yeah, I didn't look into the token economics or whatever that Pube is, but Lil Xan put out, and that's when I was like, I need to close my laptop and get off Twitter for the day, which is obviously impossible. But these tokens, Yummy, Safe Moon. I think there are some tokens and there's some protocols that are being made that have some promise, but not all of these. I think they're going to fall away, by the wayside, the way that these sort of ICO hysteria happened. I can't even name anything that's really around anymore. And even during that time, I was pretty young and new to the space. I could even tell with literal no experience at all in the space that this was just not, the ICO market was like a bubble, and there was no cap ICOs, and then they just rebranded to STOs. And then where are these projects today? What have they done? And 4 years later, there's nothing for most of them. Some of the tokens are around that were created then, but I can only name a few. So I do think a lot of it is the bull market, but I do think that there is a lot of creators that are finding ways to optimize payments, and they're trying to figure it out. I don't think anyone has it perfectly nailed down or trying to figure out the ecosystem. But when I was out in LA, there is so many celebrities and people that are interested in basically creating their own coin or creating their own crypto project. They're very into crypto, which is interesting because I'm always in New York, and the crypto conversation in New York is a lot different than the creator culture conversation that's in LA. So it's sort of dynamic in the United States right now, I would say.
Yeah, my brother's actually been spending the last 3 months in LA. He's a big TikToker or whatever. And yeah, we'll talk about that another time. Anyway, he is like so into crypto. Everybody in LA, all the creators I'm hearing are holding Doge. They are all like, he's got his own yacht, which is, if anyone doesn't know, the yacht is when you have the emojis which belongs to you. So like a phone number, but it like belongs to you and it can't be replaced. It can't be copied. Nobody else can have that combination of emojis. I think he's actually going to Miami, and I'm supposed to be there, but he's getting to go there. So he's really
in the Miami Bitcoin conference.
There's another one. There's an NFT one around the same time, so he's going to go to that one also on the same day.
Wow.
It's insane. But like, speaking of Doge, okay. This one's really interesting. Elon Musk has backed it. So I just want to get your thoughts on it. The way where I stand on this, I think most people know, is that I'm obviously very aware it's a shit coin, it's a meme coin, and it has no value. Like, I've always been very open about that. But I predicted that Elon Musk would try to work with so-called developers to make it something. And I'm intrigued to see what happens. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Doge?
I have a lot of thoughts on just Elon Musk in general and why
Yeah.
he operates the way he does. And I think that people react very emotionally to what he does every day online. And he's a little unhinged.
Do you think? Do you think?
I think a little bit. There are some parallels to the way Elon, not to make it political, tweets, and Trump. It's
I knew you were gonna say that. I was waiting for it.
It's just a little bit of like, and not quite to that extent. Dave Portnoy. Dave tries to be sort of on that level, but his is like a little bit more contrived because he has a production team that really puts stuff out there, whereas Trump and Elon just really shoot from the hip on all their tweets. You know that they were just sort of thought out of 5 seconds before they went out. Yeah. And so do I think it's a PR stunt? I mean, Tesla was profitable in Q1 mostly because of adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. And so in some ways I do think he's going to perhaps sell a little bit, buy low. I could see that happening. I also see that the community has really pissed him off. Like, I think the fight that went on last week was insane. People can be awful online. I think Elon probably has tough skin, but the like absolute crying from grown men online is just ridiculous. You don't need a hero to champion your coin. You don't need a mascot. This is not why we got into the space. I'm so sick of hearing people cry because the price dipped 5%. Now it's like literally 50%, or I don't even know where we were from the market top, but there are worse problems in the world. And I get it's just funny memeing and all of that. And Elon's wrong a lot about a lot of the information he's putting out there. So people want to explain why there are, renewable energy resources for mining, and a lot of that is being done. But at the same time, you're giving attention to a screaming child at a point, and you got to know when to pull back, in my opinion. So you just like can't give him all the attention. It would be so much funnier if people just ignored it. Could you imagine?
I totally agree with you. I think so. Firstly, it was so complicated what went on, because I definitely agree. The first main issue is just spreading the FUD about the environmental concerns when it comes to Bitcoin. That was so unneeded. And I understand, I think Peter McCormack was saying that a lot of Bitcoiners have spent a lot of time debunking all of this, and for somebody to come out with so much influence to basically echo all that misinformation, I get it. It's horrible and all that stuff. But it went too far. And, if Bitcoin, there's so much wrong here. So like, it's supposed to be decentralized, and it is decentralized, but then one man shouldn't be able to move the markets like that.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. I think that's a problem if it can be moved. I also think the Bitcoiners, some of the people in the community that were screaming and yelling and crying, it's almost like in PR, what I teach, or like sometimes if there's a problem, a crisis comes problem, something's happening to a company and, you don't want to bring attention to it. Almost talking about the issue and continuing to acknowledge it brings more bad press to the issue, because there's a lot of people that probably didn't really, care outside of the crypto community. I know
maybe they didn't see it. Maybe they didn't even see it.
Exactly. And so, but then it gets exacerbated by the community because they throw an absolute fit for 3 days. And so then it becomes a story. And I don't think people understand how that works. You add fuel to the fire. It becomes a battle. Elon Musk versus everyone, Dogecoin versus Bitcoin, and then it goes on Fox News and people are talking about it. And
was it on Fox?
Fox Business. They've been covering everything, CNBC. And so that is how the stories get made. Whereas if you would have just ignored perhaps Elon and he just said he had some environmental concerns and, a few people talked about it, it probably wouldn't have been as big as it is. So I think sometimes the community, and there's nothing you can do about it because there's so many people part of this community now, can get so riled up about everything, and it's not always beneficial for the media coverage, the the community a lot of things. But like back to your point, one person should not be able to influence a market that heavily. And so I think that, that still is a high concern for many people. And so I think that's what we're sort of realizing now. But the dip today, I'm not sure even anyone knows why it's dipping so much at this point, besides perhaps China.
Yeah, I keep hearing about China. But okay, so do you think he was doing some kind of PR stunt here, or do you think his actual concerns were genuine? Because this is a smart man, and I've said the same thing about Donald Trump. Like, I've always said Donald Trump is a genius. People always say he's an idiot, but he's not. And Elon Musk is obviously a really intelligent guy. How do you buy Bitcoin, not know about the environmental concerns, and then say no, we won't accept it anymore? Meanwhile, you're launching rockets to the moon, which is not environmentally friendly. So, did he know?
Yeah, I mean, the carbon footprint for every single rocket that goes out is, I think there's some stat how many trips around the Earth, but
I thought you were going to give me a stat there. I was excited.
I know. I don't have it off the top of my head. Unfortunately, I'm not an energy expert, but I did read about it. But I mean, Tesla's a publicly traded company. They have lawyers. They do due diligence. They would have to look into, unless things run a lot differently, and they can. You can think about these companies. I don't know if this is off a little bit. It feels like the camera is like,
no, you're good.
Matched up with me. Okay. There's a lot of companies that you think are run super efficiently, and you peel back the veil and you're like, oh wow, it's not actually run as well as you think it is. That would be hard to imagine at Tesla, because I do think Elon Musk is very smart. He's been successful. If he has environmental concerns, maybe he does. But the way I'm seeing comms run at Tesla, I mean, he put out a notes statement that wasn't even a press release. It was on like a notes app.
But isn't that what we were saying earlier, though? Isn't that just like part of the new style to be more relatable and not seem so distant and formal?
When you have shareholders, though, you have to put out a press release, because you have to notify people. So there's actually a protocol with press releases, and when you delist or change anything, you're supposed to let people know, because they're publicly traded and there's regulation with publicly traded companies. But since he didn't actually sell any of the Bitcoin, supposedly, that's just taunting the market then at that point, and just causing controversy. And to be honest, his whole backing behind Doge, I don't like. Does he actually want to accept that as payment for SpaceX?
Yes,
like,
I do. I believe it. Yeah, I do.
You really. And then what does it become?
And then it becomes a serious coin. Okay, listen, right. I could be wrong. Doge is a piece of dog shit.
I saw you put out a tweet about this. So I want you to explain the tweet, because you were like,
which tweet? I've done so many.
It was about Elon accepting Doge as like a space token, or as like being the currency of Mars.
Okay, so this is why I look at it. Like, this guy is a narcissist. Okay, this guy wants to be the best thing. He has totally revolutionized the way that we transact, right? He started PayPal. That's incredible, crypto aside. SpaceX is insane. Like, if we just take a second to think about it, I actually remember a tweet that you made. I don't know why I remember it, but I just remember it when it went to the moon. No, so when it went up to space. You tweeted, I can't believe, an individual has done this, on their own. I remember you tweeted it. And I was like, yeah, she's right. Isn't that just like insane? So what he's done is unbelievable. And I'm getting a kind of energy that he doesn't want to be part of a movement. Like, he wants his own movement. Okay, like, Bitcoin isn't his. Bitcoin is everyone's, and Bitcoin belongs to the OGs, and it's everyone's. Okay, like, he isn't the father of Bitcoin. Michael Saylor right now has been able to become like this self-proclaimed god. Elon Musk would have to take second seat to that. I really don't think that's what he wants. I really think it comes from a narcissistic place. Like, he called himself the Doge father. He wants to be king of whatever is coming next. And so he has the power, the influence, and the intelligence to make something. Now, I'm not saying it's going to replace Bitcoin. This is where everybody kind of like misunderstood.
Yep.
Bitcoin is Bitcoin. I'm not saying he's going to replace it. Bitcoin is still that store of value. But right now, Bitcoin isn't great when it comes to being that global medium of exchange. Like, it's just not. And don't talk to me about the Lightning Network. That might work in some places, but am I using Lightning Network? No. Does the majority of people I know use it? No. So I can imagine he creates this internet currency. Like, we understand crypto's borderless, okay? That's fantastic. But we need it to be cheap. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I get paid mostly in Bitcoin, but one of the companies I work with, they just pay me a little bit of money, and it sometimes like, should we just do it in Bitcoin Cash? So we just do it in Litecoin, because otherwise we're wasting too much money.
Yeah.
So we need something, and we need it now. And this is what I was getting to. I was sort of saying, like, the Lightning Network, like, Bitcoin came on time, but the Lightning Network is too late.
Yes.
We need something now. And so I feel like Elon Musk is trying to fill that hole now.
So I agree with the narcissism, that point. I think you make a really good point. I think it comes from not a genuine place or wherever. It comes from an ego, like, that needs to be, and there's a lot of CEOs and men out there that feel like they have done that. And Trump had a huge ego too. Like, he can be smart and sort of an opportunistic person who capitalized basically on like a group of people who needed a leader at a time. And so Elon has a very cult following, and they'll follow him to like the ends of the earth that are not in crypto and some that are in crypto. And so I agree. I think he sort of did. No one's late to Bitcoin, but he's not an OG. He came in. Did he first bought in February? It was right after the Super Bowl. It was the day after the Super Bowl that he announced, I remember. And so, I mean, announcing in 2021, it was cool. He was a hero for a second. But yeah, he wants to lead a revolution, not just sort of join. And so there's a lot of other, who knows what goes on in that brain. But, and especially, I mean, the fact that he took the SNL bit, that also like lends itself to the argument that he's an absolute narcissist, because like,
of course he is.
Like, who goes on like a tech CEO going on SNL? Unheard of. Like Steve Jobs.
I mean,
what?
No, absolutely. And I also think, like, okay, it's one thing revolutionizing the world, okay? But it's another thing being the person that does that. Like, that is something else, being the person behind PayPal, being the person behind SpaceX. Like, there's something else.
The argument then, like, why not create his own coin? Why get behind Doge? If that, like, again, we know he's been pumping Doge all the time. Like, why doesn't he just do his own?
Okay, so from what I've read, and this is like really, really like brief, is that it would be very difficult because there would be a lot of regulatory issues because of Tesla and everything. It would just be very, very difficult. He can, and I think if he can't make Doge if he can't get Doge to where he wants it to be, he will make his own coin. So I think Doge is his first thing.
But then just skip Doge, because like the gamble of trying to get everyone, then you get everyone, like, then you get all these Doge hodlers out there, and like you have to basically transition them to a new coin. It seems like just trim the fat, make your own coin, and then call it a day and get that going. Because by the time you ever get to Mars or get to that point, I feel like you'd want that coin ready and trading. But whatever. I don't know what he's up to. It's honestly just so annoying. I just want to mute his name. Also, the fact that we're fighting with a man named Elon is just like the funniest thing to me. No,
I get you.
Not throwing jabs at his name, but it's just like fighting Elon all day.
I know. Okay, so from a PR perspective, can't remember who tweeted it. Maybe it was like his name's Jack Sparrow or something on there. I don't know. He said this is like a really bad move, and I was sort of like, what are you talking about? Nobody outside of crypto knows what's going on. He can shit on Bitcoin, but like nobody knows why he's actually wrong. Nobody cares about Bitcoin mining being geographically independent. I mean, do you really think this was a bad PR move? I just don't even think it matters.
I think that is actually a great opportunity. I think Nick Carter did a great job of explaining a lot of the research done behind proof of work. And I think a lot of people think that the transactions are using the most energy when it's actually the mining. That is, so there's this idea that, oh, wow, every time I send a transaction or a remittance to my family across seas, that I'm using a large amount of energy. And I think debunking that fact and just talking about how people, it's advantageous for miners to look for renewables on their end, as well as why would they want to rack up a crazy electric bill when they could install solar panels and do whatever they can to make it easier for them? So I think that's really hard. Again, the main conversation of people out there, they probably don't understand that or care to understand that. They just need to know the facts. So really on the PR end, it's really giving people bullet points of this is what's happening, this is what's currently going on, and this is like debunked or untrue. But it doesn't help that Elon tweets about it, but at least he's not going on interviews yet, knock on wood, talking about it, because that would be way worse. I think everyone in the millennials and the people in the tech community and everyone sort of that we are talking about is on Twitter, whereas the people that it would really bother would be people that watch cable television. And so as long as they're not really involved in all the mess, that's okay. But I mean, the price did drop significantly. By the way, where's the price now? We've been on this.
So as we speak, it's at 35,853.
Okay.
So yeah, I want to get your thoughts. So do you think we're diving into a bear market?
There could be. I don't know. I thought the bull market was going to go through summer, and so I don't actually think so. I think it's a huge dip, and I think we rally after this slowly. It'll be an interesting dynamic if at the Bitcoin Miami conference and also Consensus, which is the last week of May, just the attitude in the air, because I think they're hoping for a different sort of situation, maybe like a 70K Bitcoin, but I don't think it's a bear market yet, but I think we will have one.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that this dip is pretty wild. It was expected. A lot of people were expecting this. People were saying we're going to get a 50% correction. And so what I've heard, what seems to be a common kind of agreement here, is that we're going to have this crazy dip and then one last shoot to the moon, basically. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. People are still hoping for 100K this year. Why not? We're not we're not halfway through.
Yeah, it's still May. It's still very early. I think it's actually healthy though, because the market and just the atmosphere was getting crazy, and I think that everyone needs like a cold shower, like a cold bucket of water thrown on them, and hopefully everyone can like relax a little bit or like sober up from the hysteria that was happening, because it was absolutely bad shit for periods of time.
I think everybody needs humbling a bit, with those damn laser eyes. The community just needs to chill. We need humbling a bit.
Get humbled. Yeah. And I'm humbled right now too, because I was, I've obviously been buying, but then was buying on the way up too, just because it was so,
FOMO.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I throw all my like free I can't even buy most of this dip because I don't even have any like capital, throw into it. Like, I don't know what to do. So anyway, I think it's healthy. I think I'm very, grateful for a correction. It's a great opportunity to buy. And I don't think this is the end of the 2021 cycle. But, if you've been in this space any period of time, these are 4-year cycles that this obviously happens on.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so just about you, I want to know, so you're doing an amazing job with trylolli. You're an absolute PR marketing whiz. Like, I think you're incredible. What's your goal? Like, what's your overall kind of dream?
Personally or for Lolli or?
Personally.
God, that's so hard. Because part of it is with Lolli. I do want to see the Lolli app on every person's phone eventually. Also, the app is sort of live for thousands of people, but it's rolling out to thousands of more at the end of the month. So it'll be fully live across the United States. Everyone can have the ability to own Bitcoin. That really is something that makes me happy. And really, while the price, and obviously I was interested in Bitcoin because it was, I was young and wanted to make money. The real technology behind it and what it can do and what cryptocurrency can do for millions of people around the world is something that really, resonates with me. And so I've been writing a lot of op-eds, but I would probably really like to start a nonprofit eventually if I was successful, and didn't really need money to help sort of causes that I'm very passionate about. And so I think there's a lot of communities out there in the United States that I would start with first, because I think a lot of people look outside of the United States sometimes to go help when there's a lot of people hurting within the United States right now. And so
charity starts at home, as they say.
Starts at home. It starts with yourself, starts with your family and your friends, and helping and loving the people that are hard to love, first, and then reaching out from there and helping other communities. So there's a lot of places. I just read about the indigenous population in the United States that is really sort of forgotten about here. There's places like Flint, Michigan, in the United States that still don't have great water. There's a lot of places in the United States that are not, mostly the cities,
right,
are really hurting. So I'd like to do something where I could potentially give back to other people and eventually expand outside the United States, if I had the time to do it. But I also would love to live on a beach too. I want a shore house like my grandmother's shore house that I'm in right now, but that's hopefully when Lolli IPOs.
Well, keep stacking those sats, and you'll do it. You'll do it for sure. Yeah. So where can people find you? How can everyone stay up to date with you?
Yes, you can follow me at the name listed below at Aubrey Strobel. And then I am, we follow the Twitter account too, because we put a lot of hard work into those tweets. So follow at trylolli, and then download Lolli at lolli.com. And yeah, I'm mostly on Twitter, but I saw that you hit like 10K on Instagram recently, and then I just hit 10K, and I was like, you've actually like built up a following there. And I need to try to build some following on my personal account for Bitcoin. But we also have a great Instagram account for Lolli, which is what I said earlier about the meme review. And so if you're into Bitcoin memes, go over to Instagram, if only for the memes, and follow Lolli there.
That's great. Aubrey, thank you so much. It's been so good talking to you. I find this whole topic fascinating. I think you're doing such an incredible job with trylolli. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Absolute pleasure. And guys, don't forget to tune in next week, because it's great as always. We'll see you then. Bye.